Okay, welcome to the sanctuary. Tonight's topic was scheduled to be, I was going to talk about how to discover and embody your own Sasha fears. So if you're not aware, you must be living under a rock. Beyonce's alter ego from many moons ago, because I don't even know if she still relies on her, was Sasha Fierce. And so I was going to talk about, how to create your own alter ego that you can utilize to help improve with your self-confidence. But I don't feel Sasha Fiercey. I don't feel the Sasha Fierce that I wanted to feel in order to, exhibit and model for you the example. I had a whole different outfit planned. I was going to, get all dolled up, dolled up, sexy Saturday and everything like that. But that's not on my spirit. That's not on my spirit. That's not on my heart right now. And if you can hear in my voice, like I've been crying all day, and I feel very, very tender. And there will be tears, more than likely. There will be deep vulnerability and deep shares. And I'm nervous as fuck. I'm also afraid. And I was going back and forth with myself of whether or not I wanted to share any of this or just cancel and reschedule. I knew I didn't really want to cancel because I'm a person, I'm a firm believer in say what you mean what you say, and follow through. And I feel like integrity and accountability relies on that intentionality. If you're unable to do so, then, as soon as you are able to articulate that, then you need to, express that. And so I'm like, this is hella last minute. I've been doing what I can all day to get into the proper frame of mind for, the commitment that I made. And it just was not aligning. And so I'm like, well, maybe I should get on the live and share what I'm feeling. And then that scared the fuck out of me because I'm like, all of these thoughts started to come up. Like when folks be like, why people share all that business on the internet, And I disagree with that. I feel like even when you're deeply transparent, people will never know the entirety of what you're experiencing because they're not there experiencing it with you, And also, I disagree with the aspect of showing up and being vulnerable in such a public forum because, at least in my experience, the internet has provided another opportunity, another space for connection that physical spaces have not provided, So for myself and for a lot of other folks that I know, relationships have been cultivated, romantic, platonic, kinship, otherwise, through the World Wide Web. So, you never know who you can touch and the impact you can make, because of this tool. So, as I was thinking about what to share, so I'm not prepared. My preparation is showing up. I wrote a couple of things on my little notebook that was, coming up today, and what I'm going to speak on. I don't know if there's going to be any tips in there. There will probably be a word somewhere in there that could resonate, that could help. But a couple of pieces came to mind that I'm going to share. And then I'm going to go into what it is that I've been feeling and what I've been doing to hold myself in those moments. So, speaking of holding myself, I made some tea. I have my lavender oil. I'm holding my amethyst. I'm doing, what I can to support myself in this tender moment, while also allowing myself to be tender. That's how I spoke. These are pieces that I've never shared publicly. I've only shared in private conversations. So this is part of the fear. And I'm a big advocate of vulnerability, and I practice vulnerability as often as possible, but it's still scary as fuck. All right, this piece is called Words for My Daughter. I want you to know 2 things. 1, you are never alone. 2, it's okay to be alone. 1, you are never alone. When you are by yourself, who is there with you? It's just you, right? But you're not just anything. You are powerful. You are unique. You are talented. You are light, love, and joy. And if you are all of these wonderful things, then being alone can't be a bad thing, because your own company is a blessing. 2, it's okay to be alone. You are connected to bigger forces and spirits outside of yourself, because love, light, and joy don't exist in a vacuum. And since these forces exist within and around you, you aren't ever alone. You attract more light, love, and joy to you just by being who you are as light, love, and joy. So when you are alone, feel powerful, safe, peaceful, comforted, and whole. And know that you are also supported, anchored, and strengthened in those moments you don't feel the physical presence of anyone nearby. Spirit is always within and around you. So it's okay to be alone. And also, you are never alone. That's something I have to remind myself of constantly. I wrote that for my future daughter, and I also wrote that for myself. I know that I'm not alone. I know that. I know that unequivocally. But I don't feel that all the time. Before I get into the storytelling, let me get to the other 2 pieces that came to mind, so that I feel at least a little bit more prepared. So that piece for my daughter, I wrote that back in 2020. This next piece, no title, it's about scars. I wrote that last month in January 20th. For every scar I share, I have a million secrets buried deep. And I'll never tell where any of the bodies are kept, even as I expose the rot of traumas also deeply rooted in malnourished soil, not my soul though. In the words I script and say to scatter the shadows of demons and fallen angels in the dreamscape of my mental inferno, 8 infinity circles of multi-layered darkness, and that hole goes deep. To every smile I show, and I smile a lot, I've shed 1,000 silent tears that no one knew about, and I stubbornly, stoically rode all those waves solo, knowing damn well my ass can't swim. You'll never know the full story, nor will I tell it. I'm still living it and figuring out the best way to translate and divulge these experiences. And then the last one, this was actually quite by accident. The other two came to mind when I was like, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and do this and flow. And then as I was looking up the pieces to share, this shit came up and I was like, fuck. Woo! This is an expert that I wrote to a former friend. The untangling process is heavy and lonely sometimes. And sometimes I just want to pass the baton to someone else and rest a while. I'm starting to realize that I don't want the burden of saving myself. I don't wish to be my own superhero, especially since I'm used to rescuing everyone else. I would like the ease of being rescued for once, but life don't work that way. Besides, in wanting/seeking that, I sacrifice pieces of my autonomy. So what I wrote down, the themes that have been meditating on my spirit, grief, self-advocacy, aloneness and disconnection, and vulnerability. Grief, self-advocacy, aloneness, and disconnection, and vulnerability. When I woke up this morning, it was kind of a typical morning, except the first thing I do, I give gratitude. I give gratitude, I extend thanks, for being here another day, having another gift, another opportunity to do anything. And then I assess my energy, I give myself time to transition from the dream world. And I think about what did I experience in my dreams? What were the things that came up? What were the lessons? What was the insights? And I have very, very vivid dreams. And it's Pisces season, season of the dreams, diving in all of the waters, diving deep. But when I first woke up, I couldn't remember my dreams, but I felt a little I felt good, but I felt unsettled at the same time. So I gave myself a little bit more time to get ready, because I have certain routines and rituals that I adhere to. And I'm thinking of, what my day, what's ahead on my day, and what I need to think about for my task list, right? And then my rituals and routines are to prepare me for the task list, to be in a state of readiness. And I was kind of dragging ass a little bit. I felt good, but I was kind of dragging ass. And, but I got to it. I had a good meditation on abundance. And everything was everything. Did my my meditation, did my movement, my steps. And was hugging myself, which I may do for the rest of this live, as some of the things come up that are very tender. And after I finished my steps and I was, thinking to get in the shower, I started asking myself, well, what do you need? You know what I mean? I knew I needed tea. And so that was my first indication. Well, not my first indication, but a deeper indication that some healing is afoot or some healing is necessary, because when I crave tea, I know that something is a little bit off of my spirit. My spirit needs some nurturance. She needs some comfort. And so I'm like, okay, what's going on? What's going on? What do you need right now? Like, take a moment for you to think about, all right, shower, business stuff, blah, 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 preparing for this live. Like, what do you need? And then the stuff from my dream came up, like that I couldn't remember before. And I've been up like hours now. And it was around my mom. And we're not currently in contact. We're disconnected. I also am not in contact with my younger brother. I also have a non-existent relationship with my grandmother, with my aunts. And those are the people that are, like within the immediate family, I guess I could say, or the folks that I would be more expected to kind of like, remain in contact with. The rest of the family is distant, but that's like, it hurts, but it's like, that has been the way for all of my life. But for the folks that I just mentioned, it wasn't like that. These have been recent developments, more or less. My aunt has been about more than a decade. Yeah, because it's been around the time that my dad passed. My dad has transitioned for more than a decade now. October made a decade. I don't have a relationship with my birth father. He left when I was 2, and did a lot of like in and out. And then the last time I spoke with him was when I was 27. And we haven't been in contact since then. So I realized as these stuff came up and I was, holding myself through it and asking myself what I needed and it felt good to release, some of the things that came up that was heavy. And these are things that like are not new. I've been holding on to them for a while and I've been, doing what I can to lessen the load. But it's still heavy as fuck. It's still heavy as fuck. It still hurts. It's still difficult moving through. And I'm proud of myself for the ways I've been able to hold myself and support myself through this on my own, mostly on my own. And also, I know that I need more support than what I've been giving myself or what I've been able to give myself, And so that's where the self-advocacy part comes in, of like being able to speak up for yourself, speak up on your own behalf, and go to bat for yourself and recognize like what your needs are and how to express those needs, where to go to get those needs met, and then what to do in the interim when they aren't yet able to be met the way you need them to be. Because I need therapy. But right now, and I've been saving my coins because I'm like, that is top priority. I need to return to therapy. It's a lot that I'm holding, and it's heavy doing it mostly on my own. I need some professional support. And I need community. I have community. But there's a part of me that still feels very disconnected. And there's a part of me that still feels very alone. And it's a big part of why I have created the things that I've created, like I have the Sexy Self-Love Academy. That's for me. It's for me. It's for others like me, but it's also for me because I haven't yet found the community that I desire. And that's not to discount, you know, the beautiful folks that are in my life. Kind of struggling with how hey Manny. Who am I? Fucking sweating my legs over here, sweating like a motherfucker. Close proximity, community and close proximity and connection. That is what has been coming up a lot for me. All of my people are like scattered. My folks are, you know, in different parts of the world, different physical places, and a lot of the people that are closest to me, I've never had the opportunity just yet to actually engage with them in the physical. So, you know, at the start of this, I talked about like my fear of one of the voices in my head of like how folks be like, you putting all your business on the internet, da, da, da. And like me going against that of like how this tool, this internet that can be, you know, can use all kinds of craziness, can be used for good, bad, and ugly, can be a form of refuge. It can be a sanctuary. That's why I call this space my sanctuary, you know, because in ways there has been opportunities and there have been pockets of healing that I've been able to access to in this forum that I haven't been able to access to. I haven't been able to access in my own physical world, you know. And I feel like other folks can probably relate to that. I feel whole within myself, and I'm very, very, very proud of how like I said, how I've been able to support myself, but even more so, how I've been able to love myself. Like, the relationship that I have fostered and deepened with myself it's so awe-inspiring to me, you know, because I'm like, I remember moments where I didn't feel what I feel now, you know, and I have such deep compassion for myself. And it's not always easy because there's still voices and there's still thoughts that I have to constantly battle against, you know, that sound like me. They're not my voice. This is not my words, you know. They're not originally my words, but the voices sound like me. And it's hard not to go back to that like adversarial relationship with yourself. And so I'm really like proud of like the way I've been able to exhibit such compassion for myself and to move through these things and hold myself and be like, it's okay, even when it's not okay. That's self-advocacy. And being able to better articulate my needs and express them even when I don't feel like they're going to be met. And part of that comes from the trauma and the conditioning of my needs not being met. My needs not being met more so than they have been met, you know. So each time that I speak up and I say, this doesn't feel good, this would make me feel better, I'm proud of myself, you know. Earlier today, I reached out to, we call ourselves the Soul Fam. I reached out to my Soul Fam, a group of colleagues, former colleagues that turned into friends, really good kindred folks. And when I was transitioning out of my former place of employment, and the rest of us as well, like, we committed ourselves to meeting up. At first it was monthly, to foster and deepen the relationships that, you know, we had started with each other, you know, from work. And it ended up being, you know, not work. And life be lifing, you know what I'm saying? Life be lifing, and like folks be busy, and like shit comes up. But now it has been, the last time that we met, it's been that long. I don't remember. It was sometime last year. And the part of me that still struggles with aloneness, the part of me that still struggles with connection, the part of me that like has dealt with rejection and abandonment over and over again, those parts of me didn't wish to speak up about like how that distance was affecting me. I didn't want to speak up about how that distance was affecting me because I'm so used to like the rejection, the disappointment, my needs not being met, and also because I think about my impact on other folks. You know, I don't want folks to feel responsible for, you know, X, Y, and Z. And I don't want pity, you know, and let me say that for the live too. I don't want pity. You know what I mean? I'm not sharing this because I want pity. I'm sovereign. I'm powerful as fuck. You know, and I'm also holding a lot. And sometimes it's difficult to move through the shit that I'm holding. You know, and sometimes it's hard finding the balance between, you know, sharing that with folks and hoping that they will get it, and also not projecting some of the darker thoughts and stuff that come on. I'm like, I don't even know if I'm making sense right now, but whatever. But yeah, I was afraid to speak on that because a part of me felt like I didn't need to, you know what I mean? Because like, if I'm truly whole, then like, I shouldn't be as affected, you know what I'm saying, by like the distance of not having, you know, people in physical proximity and close proximity, and not, you know, being as connected to other folks that I care about, you know. And so every time that these thoughts would come up, you know, I would do what I need to do to self-soothe, and then I would, you know, feelings they're not permanent. They you know, they change. So I'm like, okay, this is just a moment. The moment will pass, and that's fine. But again, part of self-advocacy is like really being able to speak up for what you need and for what you want, and being able to own it unapologetically. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm a sovereign being, they're sovereign too, you know? So I don't have to hold the shit that I'm holding and then also hold their potential reactions, you know what I mean? Or inaction. That's not my responsibility. My responsibility is to ask for what I need or what I want, you know? So today, I did that. And I was like, yo, I said the yo part, but, and then hold on, before I even share what I said, another reason why I also didn't want to say anything was because this last year in particular, I have been in a space of very deep vulnerability where I've been depending on folks more so than I would like. And that has been very, very scary. It's also been very beautiful because I've been able to see the ways in which I'm deeply loved, just for being me, not for anything that I provide, but just for being me, and that people want to show up for me, you know? And so that has been affirming me and reaffirming me. But there's still a part of me that like doesn't want to ask for too much. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't want to like rock the boat. So it's like, I just asked for this. You know what I mean? I was just in a bind for this. So I don't want to now come to y'all and be like, I also need this, you know? So, you know, I just had some monetary trouble and my folks showed up and showed out. And so I'm like, you know, and I've been feeling this way about the disconnection, you know, but for me to now say something like with this timing, you know, because I just asked for a favor, like, ooh, that feels icky. But again, I'm not responsible for their perception or their reception. I'm responsible for speaking up for what I need and what I want. And what I need is connection, not just community, but connection. Because I have community. What I need is more connection. What I need is more closeness, you know, not just the physical proximity, but just being able to feel like there are more folks in solidarity with me, you know, because there's a lot of loss that I'm holding. And I don't even be realizing it sometimes until I like go down the list and I'm like, fuck. And then every new relationship and every new connection that I make, when it doesn't, I don't want to say that feels wonky, when it doesn't work. When I encounter seasonal relationships that are temporary and they do what they're supposed to do and they end, it re-triggers, you know, all of the losses that I have experienced and I'm currently holding. And so when I'm feeling disconnected from folks that I do have intimate relationships and connections with, it fosters that. And it makes me retreat to the space of like, not just solitude, because I feel like solitude is healthy, but isolation, you know what I mean? And it's not the same. That is me moving more into my trauma and me feeling like I'm not as worthy and I'm being burdensome, when it's like, no, community is part of your self-care. It feels good when you are surrounded by love. You deserve to be surrounded by love. I'm always surrounded by love, you know. But it does feel good when like you're in spaces that celebrate and affirm you. You deserve that. So seek that. unapologetically. So I finally asked them today, I thank them again for the ways that they showed up not too long ago. And, I was honest of like, I have been struggling with how to express this for the longest time. And I even honored that, like, they may not have the capacity. Like, I gave them the agency to choose, if y'all are still interested in doing this. And I gave options of like, maybe we don't meet monthly, maybe we meet once a quarter, but like the stretch of time between the last time that we've met up, I feel it, and I'm feeling it, and there's been so many seasons that I've moved through solo, and I don't even know why my screensaver keep coming up, and I'm like, why I keep a force of habit. I keep clearing it. I'm not even using the computer. Fuck, I'm sweating. Oh, I'm about to turn that fan back on. Hold on a second. Oof. I was afraid it was gonna be hella loud, but I'm about to melt over here. So I told them, if you all are still interested, we can rotate like who leads with organizing the group. We can meet less than we initially planned, but like, I need this. If y'all are still interested, I need this. I do not desire, nor do I do well with peripheral relationships. You know what I mean? I want closeness. I want mutuality. I want reciprocity. I want solidarity. And I want to really like feel those things, and not just in my time of like crisis, but on a more consistent basis. And it felt good to do that. It was scary as fuck, but it felt good to do that, And then I was like, okay, I got it out. Thank you for the release, And then all of this other stuff came up. I was like, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for this. I released what I needed to. Can I, hold off on the other stuff until like later? You know what I mean? Like the stuff around my birth father came up, and like I've been thinking a lot about him lately, and what gifts I may have from him, and what non-gifts I may have from him. And I was thinking about like, my mom and I never discussed my father except for in negative terms, And for the longest time, I used to always refer to him as my sperm donor, It's just been within the last year or so that I've been referring to him as my birth father. It wasn't until a few years ago my mom told me how they met, and that he's such a talented dancer. Like, that was one of the things that blew her away. That he was just so, like, not professionally skilled, like just flowing. And I'm like, that's where I get my dance skills from. Like, I be dancing. And today I thought about, like, the last time that we were in contact was when I was 27, and it actually it actually initiated or fostered the decision for me to cut my first set of locks off, because that whole experience was just like jarring. And for us feminine beings, like, a lot of times the way we release is through our hair. And that was the first time that I had contact with him in a decade. The last time I talked to him, I was 17, and I was asking his permission for my stepfather to adopt me. and he pretty much cussed me out and hung up in my face. And I didn't hear from him again until 10 years later when I'm 27, and he told me that he had hired a private investigator, and all of these things, and it was so fucking overwhelming. And today I thought about all of that, and I thought about like what I wanted, and this is where the like second release came from, because what I want a healthy relationship. You know what I mean? I want a healthy relationship. But I don't know if that's possible. I don't know how to go about doing that, and I'm like, these are the things that I definitely am looking forward to working through therapy. But that came up of just like the aspect of like separation and disconnection with family, and like how to traverse that, you know what I mean? Because I'm like, one of the thoughts came to mind of like reaching out. I found his information before. He ain't never left Baltimore. That's where I'm originally from. Never left Baltimore. So it'd be pretty easy for me to find him than the other way around. And the same thing goes for like my aunt, who I used to have more of a positive relationship with. And so I'm thinking of like, okay, what will be the next steps, and like how, and like, do I have the capacity for it, and like, what would be the results, and like all of this stuff. And mostly a whole bunch of fear and stuff came up of like the rejection that I've experienced before, the disappointment that I've experienced before. We're not in contact because like his reconnection was inauthentic is the word that comes to mind. He was going through a life event, and like that has been the pattern. Whenever he has a major life event, then he remembers he has a first child and wants to like reconnect or whatever, without any kind of thought or consideration of what the fuck I got going on in my life. And so when he reconnected, like he just kind of picked up like no time has gone by, and expected me to kind of do the same. And he was like sharing all of his attributes and telling me I could Google him, and like what a good man he was and everything like that. But it was just like, you are completely kind of like not taking accountability for your absence all of this time. And while we can start fresh, like I need you to not feel for me, you know what I mean? Because he did a lot of that, of like, I don't understand why you're upset, or I don't understand why you are like aloof, and you're not like as excited, and you're it was a lot. I don't even know where the fuck all this is going. But that was what was on my spirit. And I also thought about ancestral work, and how I have been wanting. I have a more positive relationship now with my stepfather, who adopted me. I have his name, but due to the toxic relationship that he had with my mom, and their like falling out and disconnection, it negatively impacted me and my brother. So when he transitioned, we weren't in communication for 4 years. And now I see his birthday like all the time. November 17, 11/17. I see it all the time. We talk a lot, but it's been a minute since I last talked to him. It's been a minute since I last like when I see the numbers, I always give thanks, and I be like, I speak to him, but it's been a minute since I've like really had a conversation with him. And I don't have any connection to my ancestors. Well, I don't want to say that. I don't have a relationship with my ancestors. I know of them, I know their names, but I don't know them, My great-grandmother passed last year, and I have no idea who, like, beyond what I remember as a child. And the last time that I saw her, I was 19, I think. So I'm like, I want to reconnect with her. I want to get to know her. I want to get to the point of, like, having conversations with her and, like, knowing her now and then, because I wasn't able to know her then, if that makes sense. So all of that shit was coming up. And I was like, I don't know how the fuck I'm going to transform all of this into, the Sasha Fierce, how to embody Sasha Fierce. And so I'm like asking myself, what do I need to do, to move through this well enough so that I can speak about what I intended to speak about, And so I was going to, like, dress up, like I said, put on my lipstick and everything. And none of that it didn't feel authentic. It didn't feel congruent. And so when I had my last cry, I heard, like, talk about what you're going through. And I'm like, And then those pieces came to mind that I shared, of, like, there's so many things that, as much as I share, there's so many things that I hold back on, you know what I mean? Out of fear of, like, of judgment, out of fear of, like, again, you putting all your business on, on the internet. Out of fear of looking crazy, to be honest. And unhinged, even though I know that's not the case at all. You know what I'm saying? But I didn't want to disappoint the community. And then there's a part of me of, like, the community don't care. And disappoint myself, for the commitment that I made. And so I was like, okay, well, that got to be nothing but spirit that said talk about it. So, all right, I'm doing my best to listen in real time. And this could be a lesson of, like, how to, like I said, advocate for yourself in real time, when I'm moving through these emotions. When you're moving through intense emotions, period. When I'm moving through these emotions, what are the practices that I do to hold myself as best as I can until I'm able to get the proper support that I need. And now that I'm saying that, it's like, damn, I really haven't gotten the proper support yet. And being able to own that, of, like, this is part of that. You need to be able to speak about it more publicly and not retreat within yourself, because there's still things that you need, and that doesn't make you less whole, but it does impact your wholeness, though. Like, this disconnection, this separation, the loss, that I feel from not having family nearby, that does impact my wholeness. It does make it more difficult in those moments to have compassion for myself. Even though I do, it does make it more difficult, because it's like, I don't have all the tools. Like I said, I'm proud of how I've been able to support myself, but I'm not 100% equipped to deal with everything that I'm dealing with. And it's okay to admit that. It's okay to admit that. It's okay to admit that. That doesn't make me less sovereign. It doesn't make me deficient. It means that I'm doing what I know how to do, and what I don't know how to do, I'm not going to be able to do, period. I don't know how to provide community for, I'm hesitating, because I do, but I don't, you know what I mean? I am my own community. I am my own home. But the community that I seek, that I desire, the connection and community that I seek, that I desire, I don't know how to cultivate that for myself. That comes from expressing to folks, this is what I need, please come closer. You know what I mean? So it is part on me to be, it is a part of it is on me to be able to express, you know, to open up and express, you know, those things. But the result, you know what I mean? Like, I hope I'm articulating, because what's coming up for me, like, I think about like all those self-help coaches and books and stuff, and like, you know, how they kind of be a little gaslighty sometimes and it be unintentionally so, you know, to where it's like there's the aspect of saviorship, first off, you know, that goes into it. Even when they try to like say that like you're not broken, blah blah blah, like there's an aspect of saviorship, but then there's also the aspect of like, not quite sure how to articulate it, but like not shaming the person, and that pity part too, not shaming the person or providing pity because they're finding it difficult to make it, they're finding it difficult to even get to the point of like saying they need help, if that makes sense. I don't know. Let me catch up in the comments. Hey, my love, sending so much love and compassion. I just dropped in, but I feel your spirit, and I just want to know I love you so much, and I know you can do anything. I had the most beautiful vision of us holding hands earlier, and I think maybe your spirit was calling me today. Thank you, thank you. Yes, release it. Felt I had referred to my dad in the same way. My dad is good for that shit too. Ew, Google him. Yes, I was like, what, my nigga? He expected you to be on some daddy's whole shit, like a damn 6-year-old man. He really did. And it was so wild because he was asking me, like, he was doing a little interview and he was asking me all these questions of like, you know, do I have kids? Am I married? You know? And I was just like, I remember like literally being on the phone. We talked on the phone for like, I can't even say talk. We were on the phone for 3 hours. And most of it was like me looking in the phone and awe of just like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, this is a straight Twilight Zone. Oh my gosh, so fucking much, so much. Come closer, Ashe. Vulnerability is very difficult. Practicing vulnerability is very difficult. Practicing openness is very difficult. Expressing out loud what you need, what you desire, what you want is difficult, you know. It comes easier with practice, but there are still moments where you revert back to what you've been conditioned or like what you initially learned to rely on, you know. So it does bring a full circle to what I've been talking about of unmasking your authentic, unapologetic self. We in the society that we're in, we learn to craft these masks not just as a defense mechanism, but literally for survival. You know what I mean? For many of us, we craft these masks because that's the only way that we'll be able to move through the world with a sense of safety and security. So we're deeply invested in these masks, in this mask making process, you know. So when we take it off and start to unlearn that and relearn, you know, that it's actually safe, or it can be safe for you to open up and for you to be vulnerable. Like how you've had more practice at wearing these masks and covering up than you've had at the opposite, at learning how to say, I need you to come closer, you know, I need to feel more love, you know what I mean, tangibly, you know what I'm saying, because I know it, but I need to feel it, you know what I'm saying. That is a process, and it's a continued practice. I'm not perfect at it. I'm still learning. I'm not where I was though, you know what I mean? Because like I said, sharing what I did with my community, it took me a little while to say something, but I said something. Coming on this live and sharing all that I've shared, you know, I feel a lot better, but there's still a part of me that's like, a little nervous to, you know, watch the replay. But this is how we transform, not just ourselves, but everyone around us, you know what I mean? Because if you see, and if you see and have witnessed this new alternative, this possibility of like, oh, okay, you know, this person was able to show up and be vulnerable and he didn't die, maybe perhaps I can do so too, you know. Perhaps I can do so too. I feel like I had another thought. I know I had another thought, but a fucking email just popped up and like the thought went bye-bye. Thank you. Your vulnerability is so inspiring. Thank you. There's a word, I'm feeling it in my spirit. It'll come. Ripple effect is what comes to mind. Ripple effect. And the getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. I've went through a whole evolution of like I went through a whole evolution of how I regard and express my emotions. I've always been hella sensitive, and it's always been something that was looked at as a negative. You're too sensitive, you're too sensitive, you're too sensitive, you know. For the longest time, I've only saw my mom cry like once in my childhood, you know. Everybody was very hard, especially the women, like, and I was completely the opposite. But I learned how to adopt that hardness and like, you know, put down my softness. Though that never felt right. That never fucking felt right. And now I feel way more comfortable being in touch with my emotions, expressing my emotions, you know. But it's still something that is difficult. You know what I mean? It's still something that, like, in the back of my mind, I'm hearing, you know, my mom's voice, like airing dirty laundry, or like, you know, I'm trying to think what something that she used to say as a kid. Ooh, when my mom and I first was going through like our falling out, trying to figure out how to reconnect, but then fell out worse, and now we're, you know, disconnected. I went to visit her, and she was, there's a part of me that's like hesitant, because I'm like, do I want to share this? She was fostering a child, and I was only there for the night, and it was so re-triggering for me, because it was and I didn't even realize, like, you know, how much some of the stuff that came up, I didn't realize how much I was affected and how deeply impacted I was by those things until I saw it in action against someone else. And I was like, damn, that's why I do what I do, you know, and why I've internalized what I've internalized, you know. And I don't even have to get this disclaimer, but, you know, I'm not saying this to, I love my mom. I love my mom. I miss her to fucking death, you know. And there are things that it's challenging to talk with her about, you know. It's challenging to confront within myself, you know. But like what I'm trying to get at, the little girl was like 6, and she was doing what little girls do, you know. She was whining, she was crying, and like my mom was not tolerating that, you know. Like, she said something along the lines of like, what did I tell you about those tears, you know. I'm trying to think specifically what she said, because she used to say the same shit to me, and it was like, oh my God. And I was thinking to myself, and I tried my best to like say, you know, to intervene, you know, but like I said, we were still on precarious terms, and I was so triggered that it was like I really didn't know what to say or how to say it, and like, you know, it took me back to my 6-year-old self, and I was just like, wow, you know, this little girl wasn't really given the space to express her full emotion. She was told that like her expressing intense emotions is negative, you know what I mean? How many of us have been told that? And so like when I show up vulnerable, and you know, when I release these intense emotions, like ripple effect is what's coming to mind, because for many of us, we're not comfortable with receiving or witnessing someone else's pain. And because we're not comfortable with it, we disparage it. We disparage it, we minimize it, we dismiss it. And we often start that with ourselves. You know what I mean? So part of my practice, you know, even as fearful as it is getting other folks to see that, yeah, it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable as fuck. Even as someone who is now, you know, the self-proclaimed too much woman who embraces her sensitivity, it's still uncomfortable, you know, expressing grief, period. Not just publicly, but period. You know what I mean? It's still uncomfortable with doing that. Even though I know grief is one of the highest expressions of love. You know what I mean? The reason why I'm feeling all of these things is because I desire closeness. I want my family to want me the way I want them. And right now, that's not true. and it hurts like fuck. You know what I'm saying? And it should be okay for me to admit that, you know. But for a lot of people, that is like, ooh, that's, you know, because it will remind them of their own vulnerabilities and their own, you know, discomfort with those feelings. And so we have to learn how to become comfortable with all of that discomfort. Because again, if you're so used to, like, if you've been conditioned and you're so invested and you're so used to, like, this is bad, this is good, this is how you do things, and you realize that none of that served you, none of that fucking served you, you know what I mean? But yet, as you're unlearning it, it's still, in a sense, innate, you know what I mean? Because you've been doing it for so long, it feels second nature. That was what I wanted to get out. I don't know if that, like, really hit, but I was like, I felt something else that was, like, in there, you know. I want folks to really get comfortable with that uncomfortable feeling of the deep, intense emotions within yourself and seeing it on someone else, you know, so that we can practice compassion. You know what I'm saying? That's where that ripple effect comes in. Practice compassion with yourself, practicing compassion with other folks, you know, because we all have our crosses to bear, so that we can do things a lot differently for the next generations of ourselves, you know, before we even get into the progeny, the next generation of ourselves, you know. You're so beautiful. You have that after cry glow, Ashe. Damn, the disallowed, dismissal, and discouragement of crying, so felt. Yep, sometimes we be running to the familiar, even if it's toxic. That's been in my spirit lately. Sometimes we be running to the familiar, even if it's toxic. Ooh! Dismantling the toxicity within our own selves. Ooh, that's gonna have to be a topic. Oh my gosh. Because there's still, I've been going through that this last month. Like, my relationship with sex, and like realizing what practices that were they felt good, but were a little bit toxic. They weren't the healthiest. What the fuck is going on with this? Oh, Rasta. But I think I've released everything I needed to release for the moment. Yeah, that was on my spirit, and I hope that whoever needed to hear it, whether they knew they needed to hear it or not, or whether they know it, whether they knew, but whatever, that it is received, and that it is felt. So, I'm J Empress, the uniquely self-proclaimed sensual soul seer. Speaking of sensuality is not just sensuality is about the feels, you know what I mean, the senses, you know what I'm saying, and that is connected to your feelings, your emotions. But sensual soul seer, aka the unapologetic sexy self-love coach, and sexy to me is when it's safe and easy to express yourselves, and that's what I have been modeling, you know, creating this space for myself and for others, to feel that even when it's difficult, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's icky, to show up and express what you need to express, and making that process a little bit more easeful. I have a program where we delve into all of those things more deeply. If you are interested in being a part of that, please DM me. Yep. That's on that. That's on period. I and it's funny because the live is supposed to start at like the actual live, the scheduled live, because I ain't even do it on the scheduled time. I was like, I'm gonna do this now before I lose my nerve and cancel the whole thing altogether. So I will have to let you know on when the actual topic of how to embody your Sasha fears, because that's very, very important as well. When I can circle back to that. But yeah, I'm going to take some time for myself and continue to move through all these feels and self-soothe as best as I can. I hope that what I shared helped you in some way if you are dealing with anything similar. Thank you for seeing me. I hope you're able to see yourself. I love you. Happy Saturday. Peace.